Hey, it is Andy here with the FensePost Indie Music and Vinyl blog, and today I have here a copy of the Afghan Whigs and their 1992 7-inch single for Turn on the Water. By the time this single for Turn on the Water was released in 1992, the Afghan Whigs were relatively cemented in the underground alt-rock scene and either had or were about to release their third album and second on the then go-to Seattle label for the burgeoning grunge scene, Sub Pop, obviously. This single, too, found a quite welcome home on the Sub Pop label. However, one oddity is that this release, well, the country is not listed as being released in the United States, but Germany. You'll find actually quite a few German sub-pop releases in the 1990s, and to this day they continue to release European pressings as well, sometimes Germany, sometimes listed as UK or Europe. Case in point, take a look at the Afghan Whigs 2017 album In Spades, and you'll find it has German pressings on both black vinyl and white vinyl, with white being the loser edition, kind of like this one here. And sure enough, if you take a look at the back of the sleeve, you'll see down here below the Sub Pop label, made in Germany. And it's not just that. Take a look over in the credits here and you'll see a German address right there in the credits itself. So this is a definitive German release. Kind of an interesting tidbit there. And I haven't really found too much online that talks about Sub Pop and Germany in the 90s, but if you have a link to where there's more information on Sub Pop records and their story about releasing albums and singles in Germany in the 90s, feel free to drop it in the comments because I'm very curious and would love to learn more. So let's take a look at the single itself. Both the A-side, Turn on the Water, and B1, which is called Miles Is Dead, I-Z and D-E-D, come from the band's 1992 LP, Congregation. The third track on the single, which is B2, and is called Chalk Outline, is exclusive from an official standpoint, but it did find its way onto an unofficial CD in 1993 called Now We Begin. In addition to this 7-inch right here, there was a 12-inch maxi single and a few variations on CDs, listed as CD EPs as well. In all but one of the CD versions, you'll find the same 3 songs. And the one that differs, interestingly enough, includes these 3 tracks plus Delta Kong. That CD version is the only non-German release of this single. And what about those songs? Well, this is pretty par for the course for early 90s Sub Pop with definitive alt-rock and grunge leanings. And thus, it's also definitive of early 90s Afghan Whigs. And while the Afghan Whigs were not really a Pacific Northwest band, hailing instead from Cleveland, Ohio, they kind of split that area with other non-PNW grunge-leaning bands like Dinosaur Jr. In other words, their music at times seemed a bit more catchy, a little less grungy than a lot of the obscure sub-pop grunge of the day, barring some of the most well-known names, of course, Nirvana. And I think that's why you see bands like this continue to thrive even today, whereas many of those have kind of gone by the wayside. The Afghan Whigs' latest LP was released in 2022. Dinosaur Jr., their most recent, was in 2021. And you'll even find a few of the more noteworthy Pacific Northwest grunge bands still active today. Mudhoney's latest came out in 2019. There is not much to this single, as you kind of expect with a lot of singles, to be honest. It's simply a fold-over sleeve with simple printing on the back, and the single is on black wax. Slightly different than a lot of what you see from the Sub Pop in the 90s era is a slightly different label. I don't know if this is because it's a German pressing or if it's just simply because it's so early in Sub Pop's time frame that they hadn't really standardized their labels yet. Either way, this is a cool piece, and I snagged it in 2007 for $2. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you next time.